I always thought ancestry tests were just fun gimmicks. You know, spit in a tube, wait a few weeks, and find out you're 12% Scottish or something. A party trick, something to laugh about over drinks. But mine? Mine informed me that my uncle passed away 3 years prior to his birth. Allow me to backtrack. I ordered the kit during one of those late-night insomnia spirals. Ads had been flooding my feed. Discover your roots. Connect with family you never knew you had. And I figured, why not? My mom was adopted, and we never had any family tree on her side. Maybe I'd finally get some answers about who we really were. The box arrived quickly, nothing but a barcode, sterile packaging, and that small vial to spit into. I recall how clinical everything seemed, detached. I completed the test half asleep, sealed it, and sent it off without a thought. That night I experienced the first dream. It wasn't terrifying, just wrong. I was in a room that felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. Everything was painted in peeling yellow. A man sat across from me, arms crossed over a blood-stained apron. He didn't say a word, just stared. His eyes were milky, as if he'd drowned. I woke up gasping with a racing heart. I brushed it off as stress. 2 weeks later, I received the email. Your ancestry results are ready. It started out with the same old things. Pie charts, regions, percentages. Predominantly Germanic and Eastern European, which made sense. And then there was a tab I hadn't noticed in other people's results. Bloodline connections. I clicked it. The interface changed. No charts, just a black background with names. Dozens of them. Some had profile pictures. Most didn't. Some names were normal, modern, Carl B., Janine L. But others were strange, outdated, even medieval sounding. Like Dorothea von Einswald, 1783 to 1807. Wilhelm der Gebrochene, 1612 to 1639. There was a status beside each name. Most of them read deceased, but some didn't. Rather, they replied, unresolved, and one answered, active. I gazed at the list, half laughing to myself. Must be a glitch or something, right? What does active even imply? Then I recognized the name. Conrad Halberd, born 1901, died 1934. Status, active. There was a photo included, faded, sepia-colored. A man wearing an old butcher's apron, arms folded, gazing into the camera with cloudy, dead eyes. It was the man in my dream. I slammed the laptop shut. My stomach dropped. For a second, I actually felt like I might throw up. I couldn't sleep that night. I checked again the next morning. I figured I might have dreamed the whole thing, but the tab was still present. Only now there were more names. The list had expanded from about 30 to almost 70, and a few now had recently reconnected tags, including Conrad. I clicked on his name. The page opened with a brief bio. Conrad Halberd, Munich, Germany. Occupation, meat cutter. Died in 1934 in unknown circumstances. Remains never recovered. Relation, cousin of great-grandmother, mother's side. Spiritual tether, active. Last confirmed activity, July 7th, 2025, 3:17 a.m. That was last night. I had ice coursing through my veins. I scrolled down, attempting to decipher it, but the remainder was in some old German. The one sentence I did recognize was in bold red. Do not try to directly contact bound entities. Their presence is not passive. At this point, I genuinely thought maybe I'd stumbled onto some weird ARG or CreepsMcPasta project. But then my phone buzzed. Blocked number, no caller ID. I let it ring out. A voicemail appeared 10 seconds later. I opened it. There was no speaking, just wet breathing. Heavy, ragged, like someone struggling to breathe through fluid. And then a whisper I couldn't understand. Harsh, guttural syllables. It didn't sound human. I tossed my phone across the room. Later that day, I phoned the company, Family Depths DNA. Their website had no phone number posted, only a form submission. I typed the craziest message of my life, inquiring if this was some kind of joke or whether someone had accessed my account. I received an automated reply. Thank you for reaching Family Depths DNA. Because of high volume, anticipate a response in 7 to 10 business days. Useless. That night, I had another dream, if you can call it that. I was awake this time. I swear I was. I heard footsteps outside my bedroom in the hallway. Slow, deliberate. My apartment's an old one. Wooden floors, creaky as hell. But I knew those weren't my feet. They were heavier, wet, like boots soaked through. I remained paralyzed in bed, hardly breathing. Then the noise ceased just outside my door. I could make out the shadow beneath the crack, a person standing there. And then there was the whispering, identical to the voicemail, identical guttural tone. Only this time it was right outside my room. I couldn't move, not from fear, although I was afraid, but because my body just wouldn't, as if something was bearing down on my chest. Sleep paralysis, perhaps? That's what I said to myself. After a while, the shadow stirred. The footsteps backed away. I remained in bed until sunrise. When I finally made myself get up, I noticed boot tracks in the hallway, from my front door to my bedroom. My door was locked from the inside. I don't live in a house. I'm on the 6th floor of a building that is locked. That's when I began digging. I researched Conrad Halberd, thinking it was all some sort of prank. But there were documents, few, but existing. An article from the 1930s in a minor Bavarian archive mentioned a missing butcher apprentice called Conrad Halberd, vanished into thin air, suspected of participating in occult ceremonies with animal blood. The article stated his employer discovered symbols etched into meat carcasses, unusual geometric runes. One evening, Conrad once again failed to turn up for work. The police searched. They discovered a secret cellar under the butcher shop. It had been walled up years before. Stains inside, bones, candles melted into heaps of ash. Yet no trace of him. The case was closed as a possible suicide, but no body was ever found. The article concluded with a quotation from the butcher. He said, "Blood remembers." I didn't know what he meant until I saw my own reflection blink back at me. I sat in my kitchen for what seemed like hours, reading that line again and again. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even attempt it. I kept the lights on and sat watching the front door, phone in one hand, kitchen knife in the other. 3:17 a.m. My door rattled, not jiggled, not knocked, rattled, as if someone was attempting to shake it open. I waited breathlessly. The peephole was vacant. Then the rattling stopped, and I once more heard the whisper, except this time, it knew my name. Elias! "Blood remembers!" I shrieked. I rushed to the door, opened it. Nothing. Nothing but the hallway. Empty. But there on the floor was a small, damp box. No label. Just my name written in black ink. There was one thing inside. A tooth. Human. Yellowed. Old. And swathed in a strip of blood-stained apron cloth. I dropped it and rushed to the bathroom to vomit. The following morning, my ancestry profile had altered once more. The tab now read, Spiritual Awakening. There were 92 names, all deceased, all marked tethered to active host. Me. I attempted to delete the account. It wouldn't let me. A pop-up showed, Connections are forever. Legacy must be honored. That's when I discovered something even more terrible. There was a new section below my profile picture, a countdown timer. 17 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes. No label, no explanation. But the night after I saw it, I woke up with bloody fingerprints on my neck. I have no idea what occurs when the timer reaches 0. I don't know who else has taken these tests, and I don't know how to end this, but last night I glanced in the mirror, and my reflection didn't move when I did. If anyone has ever witnessed anything such as this, please tell me. I have to know I'm not on my own. Because I believe these spirits, they're not finished with me yet. The timer reached 0 at 3:17 a.m., not 3:16, not 3:18, precisely 3:17, the identical time each whisper, dream, and knock had begun. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. The ticking timer on my ancestry profile had become an obsession. I checked it obsessively, hoping it would glitch, reset, disappear, anything but what I knew was coming. When it hit 0, my screen blacked out. Only for a moment. Then a message flashed across it in red letters. The blood door is open. And my lights went out. Not only my apartment, the entire floor. I picked up the knife I'd had beside my bed for a fortnight and was absolutely motionless in the dark. I heard humming, not electrical hum, human humming. A melody I didn't know, old and off-key, like something sung to a dying pet. The humming was in my apartment. I turned toward the hallway. The shadows were darker than they ought to have been, nearly liquid. Things stirred where nothing ought. I could hear them breathing. And then I saw him, Conrad, at the far end of the hall, head cocked, eyes that milky dead white, apron smeared with something new. But it wasn't just him. Behind him were dozens of figures, men, women, children. Some wore clothes from the 1800s. Others looked nearly modern. All of them stared at me with the same vacant, death-drunk gaze. My ancestry list. They were all here. Every tethered soul I'd awakened. I should have screamed, run, anything. But I just fell, not out of fear, out of weight. There was something heavy in the room now, a psychic pressure that made it impossible to move. My limbs turned to stone. My chest felt like it was wrapped in chains. Conrad moved forward. I attempted to scream. He placed one finger to his lips, and the lights came back on. They were gone. But my laptop had rebooted itself again. This time, instead of the Ancestry website, there was a live video feed from within my apartment. A view from a camera I didn't know at first, until I understood that it was from the top. There was no camera on my ceiling, and there I was on the floor, looking up at myself in real time. In the corner of the screen, live viewer count 1. Then a message typed in the chat box at the bottom. Your blood belongs to us now. Show us the way back. I closed the laptop, unplugged it, slammed it against the wall. It didn't make a difference. The screen remained on, shining dimly from the debris. I did leave my apartment that evening, packed a bag, didn't take anything with my name or blood on it. I didn't even say goodbye to my boss. I just ran. I drove north. Randomly at first. Then I remembered something odd from part 1. The ancient butcher shop in Munich where Conrad had worked, where they'd discovered the bones, the symbols. Something within me spoke. That's where it began. Perhaps that's where it finishes. So I drove. For hours. Across borders. Staying away from hotels, sleeping in the car, engine on. Each night I heard footsteps outside the window. Each night, 3:17 a.m. arrived like a death sentence. I gave up eating, hardly drank. I resembled a corpse myself by the time I arrived in Munich. The butcher shop had been demolished decades ago, but I found its location in old city records, Klopstockstrasse 14. A modern bookstore stood there now, clean, quiet, tidy, but the basement was still there. I broke in after hours, cut the lock on the cellar door. The smell hit me instantly, iron, mildew, rot. Not from the bookstore, from beneath. The stairs were breaking apart. Each step seemed as if it would give way. Yet I descended. The cellar was off. Time didn't function down there. The air was denser. The temperature changed by the second, burning 1 minute, freezing the next. My breath rasped out in tattered gasps. The walls were adorned with carvings, not symbols, names, hundreds, perhaps thousands, some in Latin, some in languages I couldn't identify. But one name was etched deeper than all the others. Conrad Halbert, blood will return. In the middle of the floor stood a stone slab, blackened by ancient stains. Rusted but whole, chains dangled from the ceiling. And on the slab, there was a vial, labeled Elias R. Sample processed. My DNA, my blood. They'd brought it here. Something moved behind me. I spun around, knife up, but there was nothing. Then I heard it, not behind me, inside my ears. A voice, low and syrupy, crawling through my mind. You opened the door, now be the key. I don't recall leaving, not distinctly, only flashes, blood on my hands, symbols seared into my flesh. I awoke in a hotel near Munich, clothes shredded, my mouth filled with ashes. My phone was dead. But when I plugged it in, it started up with one notification. Live feed resumed. It was me again, same top-down perspective. Only this time I wasn't on the floor. I was sleeping, in the hotel bed. The camera was in the same room as me. I ripped the place apart. Nothing, yet the live stream went on. And worse, there were now 19 viewers. I went to the police. I told them everything. They stared at me as if I was crazy. They humored me, of course, made a report, even sent someone to the bookstore, though they discovered no basement, only a sub-level storage, no slab, no vial, no Conrad. I begged them to test me for drugs, for mental illness, anything. I wanted proof I was breaking, because that was safer than the other option. They referred me to a psychiatrist. I never arrived at the appointment, for on that night something different occurred. I dreamed of a child, a young girl not more than 7 years old, sitting on my childhood bed. Blonde hair, pale complexion. Her eyes were shut. She hummed the same off-key melody I'd heard on that first night. I didn't recognize her until she opened her mouth and spoke with my mother's voice. Why did you uncover the bones, Elias? I woke up screaming, rushed to the mirror. The whites of my eyes were gray. My veins were black. The bloodline was transforming me. It wasn't ghosts. It was inheritance, a spiritual infection, passed down, waiting, feeding. The following day, the stream viewer count exceeded 100. My life was being watched live by strangers. And then they began messaging me, emails, DMS, even actual letters mailed to addresses I hadn't visited in years. They each had the same to say. I saw him too. He appeared in my dream. He's in the corner of my room right now. The DNA test woke him up. It wasn't just me. This business, Family Depths DNA, it wasn't ancestry. It was a summoning ritual. Each sample was a key, each profile a blood tether, and the spirits, they weren't merely looking at us. They were learning how to return, through our bodies, through our names, by recognition. I completely stopped sleeping. I began to cut my skin, attempting to excise the symbols that continued to emerge. They bled black. One night, 317 arrived and departed, but nothing happened. No humming, no whispers, complete silence. It was worse than noise. I figured perhaps it was done until I glanced in the mirror once more and beheld Conrad's face looking back. Not superimposed, not behind me. My own reflection was different. The eyes, the hair, the lopsided smile. It was him. I yelled until my throat was bleeding, but the reflection just smiled wider and said with my voice, "Blood remembers." I broke all the mirrors in the room, yet the stream continued to reveal him, still watching, still smiling. I knew what I had to do. I went back to the butcher shop. I chose fire this time. I broke in again, soaked the walls, the shelves, the basement door. I lit a match and dropped it. The structure went up like dry tinder. I stood across the street, crying, laughing, watching it burn. And for a moment, I was free, until I noticed the viewer number spike to 666. And then I received one last message on my phone. Fire cannot burn what never died. That night I did not dream. I woke up in the basement again, not metaphorically, physically. Same slab, same chains, same symbols. And Conrad was present. Just now he appeared more alive, more like me. He leaned in and whispered, "You did good, Elias. You brought us home." Then all went dark. I woke up in a hospital, bruised all over, dehydrated, delirious. They told me I'd been missing for 9 days. But here's the part that keeps me up now. When they drew my blood for tests, the doctor went pale. He said something was wrong with my cells. My DNA didn't match what was on record. The sample indicated that my name was Elias R., but my blood said Conrad Halbert. That's all that I can tell for now. If you did one of those DNA tests, look at your results. Are there any names listed as active? For if they are, they're already watching you, and they remember every drop, each scream, every name. Blood remembers.